Night Shift was an ITV series in the 90s about night workers, a kind of social documentary.
Because we're a vast supermarket that's actually open 24 hours a day. Come in, let's see if we can find a few people to talk to.
Night Shift, it means a lot to me. It was a big part of my life, even though it only occupied the nighttime hours of my life, as it were. I presented it. My name's Colin Bennett, and it was an extraordinary thing. It was a 5-minute episode, and we just went everywhere. We just tried to go everywhere. You just simply go around and talk to people who work in the nighttime, work in that nighttime economy.
There were little 5-minute episodes about people who essentially worked at night.
Hi, we're on the night shift. Well, so are these guys. Hi, you on the night shift?
Indeed, yes.
When do you finish?
7 a.m.
And the idea being is that when you wake up every morning, the world is still there, but there's this whole army of people who work during the night to make the world still be there when you wake up.
Because you forget, whilst you're asleep and you're waking up waiting for an alarm to go off at 8 o'clock, that actually there are people that have been working all night.
Hi, we're on the night shift. You can see where we are, Covent Garden Market. And I'm going to talk to, goodness, what a great bit of planning is Dennis.
They loved the idea of someone coming to talk to them about what they did. And so we went to some marvellous places. It was good fun.
Believe it or not, the idea came from me working night shift.
An empty lorry, but a couple more hours and it'll be up to here. So will we.
I was working in a supermarket stacking shelves, and overnight just everybody would listen to the radio, and people would phone in from all sorts of jobs in the night asking for requests, and it gave me that idea.
Evening. We're on the night shift. So's this guy. Let's talk to him. Let's see who he is.
Wow, I've never seen a TV show, this was like in 1990, 91, something like that, that I'd never seen anything quite like that about night workers. And so, pitched it to ITV and found ourselves commissioned. That kind of thing just wouldn't happen anymore.
It was marvellous, really, because there's a technical expression in television called sod all. And that was the kind of research I put into it. I would expect that Graham has found somewhere interesting for us to go. Where are we going to park the car? Where are we going to put the camera down? And so I didn't need to do any of that. And I would say that absolutely because people are always interesting.
I think at the time you had commissioning editors who would just try different things from people they'd never heard of. I mean, that was the first thing I ever produced.
There are a couple of moments I can remember very clearly, and one of them was going to Dungeness nuclear power station. And I know the guys there were terrified that I was going to diss them and say to everybody that really this is something we shouldn't be doing. We're now not sure whether it's something we should be doing or not.
Going into Dungeness nuclear power station and filming right by the sort of pile cap, by the reactor.
Trouble is, it does have a byproduct, and it does have a byproduct that we're going to keep in a bowl for 6,000 million years.
But just the difference of locations was great. So you'd always start off at somewhere like, I don't know, Gatwick Airport or something, and then the next minute you would be in a chip shop.
It was raw television in a way, if that makes any sense. It was television being recorded on a bit of old wet string.
But you also got to remember back in those days, people were like, wow, there's a camera, wow, we're on TV. That is just the opposite now, that if you walked in, people go, oh, there's a problem, what's happening? You can't film in here, what are you doing in here? It was an exciting time to make that kind of programme that in many ways you couldn't really make now.
I think the fact is the world, like we were doing raw television, I think the world was quite raw. They dealt with people, we all dealt with people. These days we're not dealing with people, we're dealing with people's bizarre views of the world. Things all change, and in those days it changed slower. Nowadays, because we're doing social media, everything changes so fast. You're struggling to keep up with new ideas, new thoughts, and most of those new thoughts and new ideas are nonsense.
I think people were more relaxed in those days, where if a camera was shoved in their face, they were kind of quite happy to have, to be on camera and to talk about their experiences.
What we were doing was real. What we're doing now, all those people have signed releases, they've signed non-disclosure agreements, they've all agreed how far they will go, they've all agreed that they will eat parts of a kangaroo that you're really not supposed to eat. And whilst today, the artifice, we spend a lot of energy on making the artifice of television look like it's real. but none of it is. None of it is real. You know, it's all made up.
There were some episodes that were kind of ad hoc that we just did on the spur of the moment, because we would be somewhere, we'd finish an episode and you'd be close to town where there was a really like late night chip shop that closed at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and you go and go, oh, we're doing this series, do you mind if we come in and record here? And they'd say, yeah, that's fine.
In the olden days, we'd make television which wasn't entirely made up. It was what was happening in front of a camera with two people talking to each other in a real place. And I think there's a, you know, it might have been rough and ready, I admit that. You know, it wasn't smooth, it wasn't well polished, but it was two people talking to each other in a genuine sense of, I want to know what this person says, and he wants to know why I'm asking him. And I think there's a genuine kind of organicness about that that made it proper. Today, it just doesn't happen.
At the time, he was really known for being Mr Bennett, the caretaker, Take Hart, which was the painter Tony Hart's TV series.
I wrote Captain Zepp for the BBC. I wrote Luna for Central Television. So I used to do a lot of writing at that time. And Graham said, well, I'd like to work with you because you seem to have occupied a certain part of my childhood. But actually, that's why we met, and that's why we got on so well, because actually I am part of his childhood, whether he likes it or not.
And but I remembered him from way back when he wrote the TV series and starred in the TV series Luna. It was a kids' TV series, and Metal Mickey. There was a lot of those kind of series that I just really liked as a kid. And then when the opportunity arose to make Night Shift, I approached him and said, Colin, would you want to present this? And he was up for it, and the rest is history, including the Edmonton Oilers blue jacket that he wears. On the first shoot, I think he brought it along, and we started doing it without it, and it was quite cold. And in the end, we just decided it just was quite funny that it was like iconic.
It was a great jacket that I wore. It did say Oilers on the back. I never really knew what it was. I think I bought it from a shop. I don't know why I got that jacket, but it seemed to me it was as strange as the programme was strange. And so it's quite nice to look at what we call retrospective television, because it suddenly reminds you of an age where nobody had a mobile phone. I certainly didn't have a mobile phone when we started doing the show, and it was a long time before I did. I can remember the day I bought a fax machine and suddenly thought I'd been pushed into the 20th century.
Everywhere we went, people weren't just sitting there, you know, sort of eyes in a phone. They spoke more. They dealt with people more that were around them.
It's nice to know that there are people out there who still own a part of you, even though you thought you'd put them in a drawer years ago.
I think Night Shift, in a way, is a really good sort of social sort of commentary of the time. A sort of docu, as it happens, style series about sort of people's lives, albeit one particular point of life.
One of the great things about the show, and I don't know whether you're aware of it when you're watching it, is that it lasts 5 minutes. That's what it's meant to last, and that's what it does last. It's Night Shift. It's in the middle of the night. It's what people do for a living, and it lasts 5 minutes. When we start recording, Graham will say action, and he'll start the stopwatch.
Colin, the presenter, would interview lots of people, walk about. We just kept it going, and then I would sort of start giving him signals, you know, we're wrapping it up, and he would then just, you know, wrap it up, give an ending, and, you know, see you next time on the Night Shift.
At the end of the day, it was a 5 minute show, and it was perfect for what it was meant to be. Night Shift. I loved it.
Hi, my name's Dave Hicks. I'm one of the cameramen on Night Shift. In fact, this is the camera we used all those years ago in the 90s. I'll be uploading episodes. So if you see yourself or someone you know, like and subscribe and comment down below, and I'll be replying to all the comments. See you on the Night Shift. Bye.